On the island of Sodor, just off the Peel-Godred line, was an abandoned short branch line. It ran through a dead forest and did a loop around Haywen Lake. There was a derelict station by the lake too. It had not been used by engines in over a century. However, it became popular among hikers and explorers. So the Fat Controller thought it'd be a good idea to restore it. But not all the engines were very keen on doing the job. Is this the line that runs by what used to be Gorseflin?
Yes, that's the one by Haywen Lake. Of course, you know, the hamlet is gone. Of course, as you know, the hamlet is gone.
But the station is still there. Or what's left of it. But no engine has ever gone there in many years. Is it still safe? I mean, the trees have been dead since I last went down that line in 1931. Ooh, spooky, teased Gordon sarcastically.
Don't worry, Edward. We're going to remove all those
trees before the line reopens. Now then, which one of you would like to take the train there tomorrow night?
Well, I'll do it, sir. I may not be used to troublesome trucks, but at least I'm stronger than Edward. Besides, Edward seems to be too scared of dead trees in the dark.
No, I'm not.
Very well then, Gordon.
And with that, the Fat Controller left.
Why are you so freaked out by just a mention of that line?
I am not freaked out. I just think it's a bad idea to reopen that line, that's all.
Gordon laughed and left the yard. But that evening, as Edward puffed into his shed, he found out that Gordon had told the other engines about him. "Hello, Edward," said James. "Are you scared of the dark?" No, I'm not. Gordon's just telling you rubbish. I'm not scared of the dark. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to go to sleep in my very dark shed. Good night. Henry, James and Gordon snickered, but Thomas and Percy were cross. And so was Emily when she came back the next day. They were all alone in the shed with Edward. They decided to find out what all the gossip was about.
Edward, asked Thomas,
"If you don't mind me asking, was there something that made Gordon think you were scared of that old line? Like, did something happen?" "I suppose I could tell you three, but don't tell the others." We won't, said Thomas, Percy and Emily together. Right then. That line is haunted. I went on it many years ago, and I can assure you I saw something strange. Thomas, Percy and Emily were puzzled. What are you talking about? It's a bit of a long story, but I guess I'll tell you. And this is the story Edward told.
The year was 1895. The island of Sodor had been part of the kingdom for many The island of Sodor had been part of the United Kingdom for many centuries. But there was still a large number of Nadrich speakers, most of them farmers and rural areas. Just off as what is currently the Peel-Godred branch line
was a small hamlet next to Haywood Lake called Gorseflin. Yeah. It was inhabited by Sodric farmers. And was served by a small station. They would load their goods into trucks, and their train would take them to be delivered across the island. For many years, the entire area was completely nice and peaceful. That is, until a deranged man named Guto Quilgerardle became the mayor. He was the maid of a Sudric extremist who hated the British rule of Sodor. He was quite an intimidating man, always dressed in black, and he turned the once peaceful farmer hamlet into what was essentially a radical cult. He often got into trouble with law enforcement due to his promotion of violent assistance, and garnered a fearful reputation with not just farmers but the government as well. Eventually, he and his minions decided that the town was no longer under British rule and would ban any outside influence. This would include blocking trains for coming in. A simple attempt to negotiate with the authorities led to a gunfight. Although no one was killed, the police gave up. The government of Sodor decided the only way to save the matter was to set up a night ambush and take him in the custody. The night they chose happened to be one with lots and lots of mist, which gave them the advantage. They snuck onto the line and made their way towards the village. Quilgerardle was standing guard at the station. An owl hooted, "Twit-twoo!" And then he began to hear what sounded like an engine puffing. He grabbed his rifle, lapped onto the tracks.
Next is up for debate. An engine puffing. He grabbed his rifle, and what happened next is up for debate.
And then he began to hear what sounded like an engine puffing. He grabbed his rifle and leapt onto the tracks. What happened next is up for debate. Some say he pointed his rifle at the oncoming train. Shooting at it. Others say he was shot dead in cold blood. But whatever the story, Quilgerardle was shot dead, and the town was invaded by British soldiers. No one else was killed, but many were arrested that night, and those who weren't left the village. Quilgerardle's reign of terror was over, but the area never fully recovered. When the Peel Godred line was built, the small loop branch line around Haywin Lake was used less and less until about 1930 or 1932 or 31, it was completely abandoned, and no one knows why. But now the trees start to die off, and the station sits in a dead forest. "But what does that have to do with ghosts?" said Emily. "I'm just about to tell you. I went down that line one night in 1931 with some workmen, and there was a strong mist. As I approached the station, an owl hooted. And suddenly we heard gunshots. We tried to reply, but there was no one there. Then suddenly, the light shone on. We couldn't go forward, so we had to go back.
The next day, they searched all around the area, but there was no bullets.
It was when I heard the story that it all started to click. Whenever the owl hoots, the mist rolls in. And legend has it that whenever there's a mist about, there's a ghost about too. The ghost of Quindraradle. Thomas, Percy and Emily were speechless. Aren't you suggesting things? There could be a few explanations. I hope I was wrong, said Edward. But there's something wrong on that line. I mean, I don't want to believe in ghosts, but there's something strange on that line. I've never ventured on it since that day. Needless to say, I'll need a help to give Gordon a warning. I'll do it, said Thomas. Later that night, it was a moonlit night and Gordon was working with Thomas. The big blue engine was getting ready to take a goods train to the station by the lake.
Whenever that owl hoots, a mist rolls in, murmured Thomas. There's a legend that when there's a mist about, there's a ghost about too. Take care on the old line tonight, Thomas.
Pah! Stupid bird, said Gordon. You really think I'm scared of ghosts? I don't need some silly little tank engine to help me. Now, if you ask me, I'll be getting ready to take my goods train. Anyway, who told you about the mist? Edward. Edward? His memoirs are just as stupid as himself. And if you ask me, I've got a goods train to take.
Don't say I didn't warn you, said Thomas.
Dumb bird, said Gordon.
Owls, mists, ghosts. Edward's going crazy in his old age.
Ghosts. Edward's going crazy in his old age. Lucky for me, there won't be any mist tonight.
But Gordon was wrong. What on earth is that? It's an amber lamp, murmured his driver. That means proceed with caution. Who's there? No one replied. Perhaps we should go. We can't just sit here.
So Gordon crept slowly forward.
He stopped by a tree. It had a sign nailed to it. Beware of the viaduct.
The driver was surprised. Since when did anyone warn us about that before? And look, the signal's red. And the gates are closed. And look, there's a fogman's coat. But where is its owner?
Just then, they saw a light move within the station building.
Ghosts! Exclaimed Gordon. Thomas was right.
Something very strange is happening, said the driver. I think it's best we go back.
So do I, agreed Gordon nervously. By morning, the mist had cleared. A workman was talking to Gordon's driver and fireman about the unsafe viaduct.
Lucky you didn't cross it last night. Yes, but we don't know who warned us, replied Gordon's driver.
Later that day, Gordon was taking on water when suddenly... Boo! Boo! Oh!
It's only me, Gordon. Spencer, my man, what brings you here? You thought I was a ghost, did you? Of course I did. So what brings you here, my man? I just want to tell you I need to get ready for the express, seeing as you're taking that goods train again, down to the line. What? But, sir, I can't. Why can't? Oh, it's because that line's old and haunted, you. Because there might be ghosts. No, you don't understand. Of course I do. Now I've got some time. I haven't got time to be waiting with your jokes. See you later, Gordon. But Spencer, He's gone. Just then, Gordon saw Duck talking to a strange hand truck with a strange man. The man made a funny laugh. Gordon had never seen this man before. The man made a very strange laugh. Never seen that man before. The man made a very strange laugh and then rolled away. Later that day, as he was resting in a siding, he saw Duck come back. Gordon asked him about the strange man. Well, that's old Bailey the Fogman. He's a bit of a weirdo if you ask me, said Duck, and then he puffed away. Goes on and on and on about the environment and how he's friends with nature and how he's besties with nature. Can't talk now, can't talk more, must be off.
Just then, Henry's crew came back. Good news.
Just then, Gordon's crew came back. I bring great news, Gordon, said his driver. The viaduct has now been repaired. We can take our train back to the old We can take our train back along the old viaduct if you like. The old line has been repaired. We can take our train back along the old viaduct. But unfortunately the points are damaged, so you're going to have to push your train. But it's okay. We can take our train back along the old line tonight. Gordon really didn't want to. But when nightfall came, he was sizzling nicely. But it didn't last long. Suddenly, an owl hooted. And then Spencer thundered by.
Oh, look, Gordon's scared,
Said a truck, and the others giggled in their silly way. Be quiet, snapped Gordon. I'm not scared. But he was. Do that scene again. Oh, look.
Gordon's scared. Oh, look, Gordon's scared,
Said a truck, and the others giggled in their silly ways. Be quiet, snapped Gordon. I'm not scared. But he was. A little later, the fog came down. As they approached the same area, they saw the amber light again. Here we go, said Gordon's driver. Then, unbeknown to Gordon, the gates mysteriously closed by themselves and the signal went red. The trucks had seen all and they were spooked too. Stop! Stop! Yelled Gordon. A mysterious figure watched Gordon go by. Sorry guys, but we're going to have to replay this scene again.
oh, look, Gordon's scared,
Said a truck, and the others giggled in their silly way. Be quiet, snapped Gordon. I'm not scared. But he was. A little later, the fog came down. As they approached the same area, they saw the amber light again.
Here we go, said Gordon's driver. Then, unbeknown to Gordon, the gates mysteriously closed by themselves and the signal went red. The trucks had seen all and they were spooked too. Stop! Stop! Yelled Gordon. They charged towards the crossing, bursting through the gates and raced past the station. A mysterious figure watched Gordon go by. Ahead was a landslide blocking the line. Gordon braked hard, but the trucks hit some of the rubble and plunged into the ravine. Just then, Gordon's driver saw a strange sight coming towards them. What's that? The fireman laughed. That's not our ghost. It's old Bailey, the fogman. Old Bailey was very cross. I tried to warn you about that viaduct, but you didn't listen. I tried to warn you about that viaduct, but you didn't listen to me. No one would listen to old Bailey. Why didn't you listen? We're so sorry we ignored your warnings, replied the driver.
So that's what those gates and the signal and that warning sign and the amber lamp was made for. To stop engines. To stop us about the viaduct.
My God. Well, we're sorry we ignored your warnings, replied the driver. Is there anything we can do to make up for it? Thank you for helping us. Well, I'd like to operate that old station. If you let me, I promise I won't spook Gordon again. You wish.
Gordon agreed.
True. Henry was confused.
But Edward told me Gordon was confused. Wait a minute. But Edward told me about the powered old things that he experienced.
Down the line a long time ago, like the gunshots.
Old Bailey.
I tried to warn you about the viaduct, and you acknowledged it. But when I warned you about this, why didn't you pay attention?
Old Bailey laughed.
Oh, I've heard that old story millions of times, but I've worked on this line for years, and I assure you there ain't no ghost. In fact, I believe the sloppy repair work on the viaduct put the already unstable ground to the brink, and there was a landslide shortly before you came through.
Henry was confused.
But Edward told me about the powered old things he experienced when he went down the line a long time ago, like the gunshots.
You know, my grandfather said people used to hunt illegally here at night, and I bet that's what Edward heard. Even nowadays, this place has been overrun with crazy people trying to find that ghost. It's a good thing this place is being restored.
Indeed. Is there anything we can do to thank you for saving our lives?
Well, you could tell Sir Topham Hatt that I'd like to operate that old station. My grandfather operated it before he was shoved out by Gilderoy and his cult, and I'd like to restore it to what it was before. It was his dream. If you let me, I promise I won't spook Henry again.
That would be much appreciated.
Old Bailey's wish was granted, and he met with the
Old Bailey's wish was granted, and he met with the Fat Controller a few days later. Given the happen of the Omniscient event that happened a long time ago, I think it would be better to turn this area into a real station, into a nature preserve.
Monument. That's a great idea. The station can be a stop for hikers to get on and off and explore this historic area of Sodor. It will be a peaceful getaway.
Although I will say we could remove the dead trees.
Looking at some of the wood, I think there was some sort of fungus that killed them off. Given that the bushes have come back, I think whatever that fungus was has been long
You had to...
gone. We'll bring back the natural beauty and harmony that the farmers intended before Gudul Charadal infected it with his terror.
The old station building was knocked down, and a brand new one was put in its place. The dead trees were all cut down, with seedlings being planted in their place, and the railway was repaired. Old Bailey was very pleased, and on opening day, Henry and Edward came to the celebration.
And on the opening day, Gordon, Edward, and all the other engines came to the new opening of the new station building.
When I was a child, my grandfather used to tell me stories about running the Lifeline as a station as a young man in the 1880s.
When I was a child, my grandfather used to tell me stories about life running the station as a young man in the 1880s, and how peaceful it was. That is, until Gudul Charadal and his cult had to show up and infect the land with his bigotry. He was forced out of the station by that cult, and when he returned, the station never recovered. He was devastated, and I want to continue his legacy by bringing back what he was never able to. This wildlife preserve is a place where people can come away from the stress of industry and find peace. I've wandered this area for many years, often being mistaken for a ghost. But from now on, there will be no ghosts roaming around here.
Except for you, of course, laughed Gordon.
Well, thanks. I'll try not to be too spooky in the future.
I'm sorry I kept teasing you, Edward.
Oh, that's okay, Gordon. I'm sorry. It's okay, Gordon. You're very welcome.
Yeah, well, it's always fun to be scared. Not fun to be scared, but everyone knows that ghosts aren't real. You and your station will be really useful. Let's hear a hearty thank you to the friendliest, ghost on the island.
Everyone cheered,
Especially Gordon, who was the happiest of all.
Gordon? Yes, Henry. Would you like something to say? Yes, I want to ask you a question. Ask away, Henry. I am mad at you. Really? Why are you mad at me? You stole my part of the episode. Me? Why? Yes, you. You stole my line of the episode. I was the one who's supposed to be had that experience with old Bailey. Well, I'm sorry. What kind of idiot tries to swap our ways around? And you were supposed to be the engine who thundered past. Oh, sorry. Is there anything you want to say before we go? Yes, I want you to give my part of the episode back. I want you to give me my part, the main character of being the main episode, back, and change it back to the original title, Haunted Henry, not Ghostly Gordon at all. Yes, Henry, whatever you say. Good. Good. Oh, that's for stealing my main bit. Sorry, I just didn't like the role Sorry, everyone, I just didn't like the role rehearsal. Role reverse. If you want to see the proper way it is done, click the video on the end screen now. Anyway, now, I must get going.
I've got an express to haul.
I've got a train to haul.